So the Indiana Fever have got their enforcer. They have got their enforcer for Caitlin Clark. And I'm not gonna lie, like, when it comes to Caitlin Clark and their enforcer, last year everyone was talking about them needing an enforcer.
Do you recall when Caitlin Clark was frequently the subject of 2 forceful fouls and had to contend with a lot of aggressive play on the court? Well, they were bygone days. To assist safeguard Clark and guarantee she gets the support she requires, the Indiana Fever just signed not 1 but 2 players.
The closest thing they had was Erica Wheeler. That was the closest thing they had for someone to defend Caitlin Clark was Erica freaking Wheeler. Maybe Tammy, but Caitlin Clark was getting hit a lot. She was getting hit a lot early and they needed their Charles Oakley.
Natasha Howard and Sophie Cunningham are here, and they're not come to make friends with Caitlin Clark's rivals. These two bring significant toughness, and Clark's critics are set to face some painful lessons. Prepare to witness how they will protect Clark and change the Fever.
Sometimes you need one of those players on your team. You need one of those enforcers. Every good player, by the way. Every good player, every good team that is a super duper star. Most of the time have enforcer type players.
Imagine this. For her rookie season, Caitlin Clark, the basketball phenomenon we have all been waiting for, walks onto the WNBA floor. The crowd is buzzing, expectations are sky high, and everyone's ready to see her shine. Rather than a friendly greeting though, she has encountered elbows, shoves, and some quite aggressive plays. What's going here?
That's all I see. They try so long to get respect for women's basketball, and then they treat it like a junior high school girl's locker room. Junior high school girl antics on the court.
Let's break it down. Caitlin Clark endured more than simply rookie obstacles last season. She was targeted with harsh fouls, cheap shots, and questionable moves. The facts are shocking. 17% of all flagrant fouls in the league were committed against her. This wasn't bad luck. It was a visible target on her back.
What little girl wants to grow up and play in a league where you're targeted like that? How do you sit here and profess and demand that everyone take women's sports seriously when you can't even take it seriously enough to not act like a junior high queen on the court? It's stupid. That's so dumb. It looks like a soap opera.
And guess who led the charge in this brutal welcome? The Chicago Sky, responsible for 80% of the flagrant fouls against Clark. It's like they noticed her brilliance and determined to shut it down. Whether it was jealousy, fear, or just plain bullying, it was evident certain players weren't ready to spread out the red carpet for the new star.
I feel like I'm getting hammered.
Here's Clark for 29 points, gets tripped up.
One stunning moment came from Diamond DeShields of the Chicago Sky. Clark was driving to the hoop when DeShields shoved her to the ground. The crowd became silent, but Clark got up, shook it off, and kept going.
I mean, that's clearly a foul, which was called. The question is, will they call it unnecessary? Kennedy Carter.
That's the thing about Clark. She's got ice in her veins. While others were intimidated by the harsh play, she maintained calm and didn't back down. After a brutal foul from Kennedy Carter, all Clark said was, "That's not a basketball play, but must play through it." Talk about mental toughness.
The signing of Natasha Howard represents a massive step forward for the Indiana Fever and their quest for a championship. In Howard, the Fever gain a 3-time WNBA champion, a Defensive Player of the Year, an All-Star, and a veteran with more than 300 games played.
Clark is resilient, but the front office realized reinforcements were needed. Enter Natasha Howard, a 3-time WNBA champion, All-Star, and past Defensive Player of the Year. She's not simply here to play, she's here to deliver a message.
But all of that, and we haven't yet touched upon what Howard does best: defend. Howard was named Defensive Player of the Year in 2019 and has finished in the top 10 of the Defensive Player of the Year voting 3 times in her career. Howard has averaged at least 1 block and 1 steal per game in each of her last 7 seasons. And that versatility is really what makes her a weapon on defense.
Clark won't be pushed around again. Howard's entrance sends a clear message. Enough is enough. With her skills and harsh reputation, opponents will think twice before messing with Clark. Howard's willing to battle for her.
Season with a minimum of 25 games played, Natasha Howard was one of just 13 players to average 18 points per game. She was one of 16 players to average 7 rebounds per game. And the list of players to average both 18 and 7 last year, short and elite. Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, Brittany Griner, and yes, Natasha Howard.
But here's the twist. Howard isn't just muscle. She's a multi-purpose weapon. Last season, she averaged 17.6 points, 6.7 rebounds, and 2.9 assists, all-star level stats, and she can shoot threes, providing room for Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Adia Boston in the paint.
Wingspan and 6'2" height allows her to be disruptive defensively around the rim on opposing bigs too. In fact, Howard will enter the 2025 season 25th all-time in blocks in WNBA history.
Howard's Defensive Player of the Year award isn't a fluke. Her aggressive play will make opponents think twice. She also has over 50 playoff games of experience, adding the leadership the Fever needs to move from underdogs to contenders.
Caitlin Clark was getting hit a lot. She was getting hit a lot early and they needed their Charles Oakley. You've got that in Sophie Cunningham. For a video, there are so many videos of Sophie Cunningham just starting brawl.
Howard's excited too. In her own words, "I'm delighted to return to Indiana and add my expertise and toughness to the squad. I want to assist Caitlin and the Fever compete at the greatest level." This isn't just talk. Howard's a champion eager to make things happen. She knows what it's like to be the underdog, and now she's ready to help Clark conquer the game.
Sophie Cunningham, in general, is just wild. Wild is the best word I can use to describe Sophie Cunningham. And, it is just, it's carnage. It's carnage a lot of the time when Sophie Cunningham gets involved with anything. The amount of fights that Sophie Cunningham has been involved in is mental.
Just when you thought the Fever were done making moves, they whip out another ace, Sophie Cunningham. She's come to put the bullies in their place, shake things up, and make sure Caitlin Clark can focus on what she does best, dominating the game.
She hits a three, Maisha Hines-Allen fouls her, and then tries to step over, and then Sophie Cunningham grabs her leg. Nobody's going near Maisha Hines-Allen, but no, Sophie Cunningham will start the fight. The refs are trying to break it up. None of the Mercury players are going to go near Maisha Hines-Allen. They're scared. She's scared of bejesus out of them. Maisha Hines-Allen is one of the toughest players in this league. Sophie Cunningham going head to head straight with her. If you step over anyone, you deserve to smoke. Unnecessary foul followed by the step over.
You're probably wondering, Sophie who? Well, she's a force. A sniper with a nasty streak. Exactly what the Fever need.
Like Sophie Cunningham, there are so many things where it's part of it her fault, part of it not her fault. But she will not back down. She will not back down under any circumstances from anything. And that is what the Indiana Fever need. If somebody hits Caitlin Clark, if somebody does what Victoria Vivians did to Caitlin Clark, it's not going to be Caitlin Clark that's getting involved to be teed up. Sophie Cunningham's in there. You take the technical foul, takes the hard hit, and goes down, obviously, gets back up and just laughs. That's a legitimate thing where you're okay, yeah. This is a person who is just, there is a toughness there with Sophie Cunningham. And, she's not scared.
And get this, the Fever traded Nalissa Smith and the 8th pick in the 2025 draft for her. Sounds ridiculous, right? Wrong. It's pure genius.